The NAR lawsuit. Okay. So I want to catch everybody up to speed, and I'm sure most of you know when this originally came down, where there was a class action lawsuit against large brokerages and NAR, and the judgment that came out of that was nearly $2 billion. It was $1.8 billion. Obviously a huge amount of money. And so the thought was, okay, they're obviously going to appeal it and see what happens there. But some things are going to change. And so NAR has come up with a settlement that both the class and NAR has agreed to. And so now the next step is for them to get the judge to agree to this settlement as well. So it is not finalized at all. It's just what they've proposed. Both parties have agreed to it. And but what it is it's a $418 million that they would pay out, NAR would pay out over 4 years. That would make it to where NAR could be solvent and they wouldn't have to go into bankruptcy and all this kind of stuff. There is a ton of information out there that is just completely incorrect. And I've seen videos on things where people are speculating things that I don't know where they're getting it from because it's not from what is in the settlement. And so I thought, let's just go over really what this, says at this point, and then kind of go over, some of the thoughts that could come out of this, right? So basically, with this, if the judge agrees that, hey, this 418 million is a reasonable settlement for this and all that kind of stuff, there's some changes that will take place. Well, for one, it's supposed to occur in July of 2024. So we're not talking a long time before these rules that I'm going to talk about are going to go in place if the settlement is agreed to and all that kind of stuff. So basically, the main crux of it is there's protection for brokerage companies like ours that did less than $2 billion in business in 2022. So the estimates are that there's probably 60 to maybe up to 100 companies that are not covered under this settlement. But the vast majority, I think they say it's like 1.6 million realtors companies are covered by this settlement. Okay, the big thing that is kind of the whole issue with the case was the buyer's commission being not negotiated really, except for the seller negotiating it, but putting it in the MLS as a guaranteed fee, essentially, of what you would get as a buyer's agent. So that is going to go away if the settlement is, if the judge agrees with this. So there would be no box to put in commission in a listing for a buyer's agent. And so it's one of these things that it will be under the MLS rules will be not allowed at all. There just won't be anything there. You won't be able to put it in, from what I understand of things, in public comments, in private comments, and anything to do with the MLS. Although I have heard now they could put a seller, basically a seller, hey, if a seller is agreeing to a buy down currently for buyers, especially when the market was a little bit harder, that is a concession that a seller is making and letting people know. So there is some possibility there, but just in general, there won't be anything that says, hey, buyer agent, you are going to make X amount on this deal. So, and then the next thing, and something that I agree with anyways, and have been a big proponent of, is a buyer broker agreement. And so with each buyer that you are working with, you will have a signed agreement with them that indicates what your services are, how much the cost of those services are going to be. And there will be, so there's already a buyer broker agreement that's been around forever with CAR, NAR, but that will very likely be heavily modified over the next couple months. And It will indicate all kinds of things, what your services are, how much they're going to cost, where are we trying to get that money from. Now, this does not mean, and I want to make sure it's clear, it does not mean that a seller cannot pay for a buyer's agent commission. That is something that is going to be completely negotiable, and it will very likely be a part of the offer that you're presenting for that buyer. You will very likely present your commission that you are trying to get, whether it's coming from the buyer, whether it's coming from the seller. That's not part of this settlement agreement or anything like that. Basically, what might happen, I guess, is the next step. And those of you that have talked to me about commercial real estate know this from talking to me. I do a decent, I mean, not a lot of commercial real estate, but I do a deal here and there. And I think it's going to be something that's very similar to commercial real estate. With commercial real estate, there's no MLS that says what you're going to get paid. It's a matter of when you present an offer to the commercial real estate agent that's listing the property, then you're putting in, hey, how much in commission you're trying to get. Sometimes that is from the buyer. Most of the time, the seller is really paying that commission. And you say, hey, it's 2% that I want, 2.5%, whatever it is. So I think it might be very similar to that. I think there might be, a la carte services that come out. I think there's going to be a new era of different services and different websites and different providers that are going to come out, where there may be some a la carte services where, hey, you go to open houses and see a property, and then we have this company, not us, but somebody has this company that has a buyer service that writes up the contract and does X, Y, and Z, and they charge, X fee for it. So I think there might be something like that comes out. You never know. So I think there's probably going to be a lot less part-time real estate agents that are working with buyers. And, I don't necessarily think that's a terrible thing. I think there's going to be a much more reliance on hyper-focused local presence for a buyer's agent. Because if you really think about it, if a buyer's agent really is doing you a huge service, and let's say they're up here in Northern California in Pleasanton, and you're buying a house in Fresno, well, do I know anything about Fresno? No. So, you know about the contract, about negotiations, that goes everywhere. But does it really, help the buyer that much if you don't know that much about the area of why this house is a little bit more expensive, or this school district, or this, that, or the other? So I think the hyper-focused local presence is going to be something that is an issue. I think that we're going to have, and we're going to talk about this here in a second, I think we're going to have buyers agents doing what listing agents do currently. Listing agents, they have a listing package that they present to the seller. If you've noticed, most listing agents, it's not like it's only friends and family. A lot of buyers agents, it is friends and family, sphere of influence, that type of thing. But but listing agents, they usually market to a certain area. They're hyper focused in that special area. They become very dominant in that area, and that's how they get more and more listings. So do I think there's going to be, I'm going to throw some things out there, some commission compression out there? Probably. If a buyer is currently, what my assumption is with most agents is that when that's asked, hey, how do I pay you if I'm working with you as a buyer? And you go, oh, well, I get paid by the listing agent. Don't worry about it. Where that obviously is not the case anymore. It's going to be something that, if you're charging 3% and someone else is charging 2%, well, and their offer, and if they are asking for it from the seller is going to be looking at the net, obviously, of what they're going to be getting on each offer. So those things. So do I think that there's going to be some compression on that side with commission? Probably. But do I think that, like a lot of things in our industry, now this is a big deal. This is not something that just to say, hey, nothing's going to change and this, that, and the other. Things are going to change for sure. It's just a matter of, is it going to be as big of a deal as some in the media are putting out right now? And if you don't know, there's a lot of people in the media that just do not like real estate in general. They're always saying you shouldn't buy, it's a terrible time, and this, that, and the other. And if people listen to them, millions and millions of people would lose millions and millions of dollars essentially. So, but do I think that I think there's going to be changes, but I don't think it's going to be crazy, crazy changes. I don't think real estate is done or anything like that. I think that it's just going to be different. And, with life, change is the constant in life. So, so what should you be thinking about? And again, just to reiterate, any question that you have, put in the chat. Luis is going to read those at the end or look over them and see if there was things that I didn't cover. And then we'll get those answers out there to you. But, what should you be thinking about right now? And like I said, becoming, or being a listing agent probably is a little more important than ever before. So some of you that are on the listing side, I would say that's cool. That's a good thing. But being more professional in general is going to be the way it goes. And that's in my opinion. And I think that is a good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that our industry could use more professional agents out there. And on the buyer side, if you have somebody that does a deal every other year, really, how involved are they in what's going on? How good are they at negotiations and all of that? So I think that becoming more professional, and I think it was yesterday, we'll send it out, but that buyer's representation certification through NAR was free right now because, of course, they're going to be doing all kinds of things to keep their membership up, and make you more professional, of course. So, that's something that you will be able to tout to people. Hey, I am a certified buyer representation agent, and that's something that you should be really looking at. Maybe creating a website that's specific to buyers in, maybe a hyper-focused area. Hey, I work in Pleasanton, Livermore, Dublin, San Ramon. Maybe that's it. I don't know. And, I know these areas very well. Whatever it is that you offer to those buyers and what makes you better than other agents, that's what you should be focusing on right now. So maybe creating a website that is focused on buyers, just like listing agents focused on getting more listings by their websites. Maybe there's going to be tiered services out there. Maybe it's, hey, for my full commission part of it, 2.5%, 3%, whatever it is, these are the things I do. And 2%, this is what I do. 1%, this is what I do. I don't know. Maybe start thinking about those things. So I was thinking about who are the winners and losers on this thing. And the biggest winner is the attorneys that did this class action lawsuit. I mean, the sellers that were the class of this lawsuit will literally get pennies on the dollar. I mean, very little to nothing they will get. The attorneys, on the other hand, they will very likely, with fees, all that kind of stuff, they're going to probably be in the 40% of, 30, let's just say it's 33 and a third. So maybe like, maybe 35% of it with fees and this, that, and the other might be over to the attorneys on this. So it's a big payday for them. I do think listing agents are probably somewhat winners on this, although you never know. I mean, that could negatively impact also what that commission amount is as well. And I think I don't really think sellers are really the winners of this, but someone could say that. The losers on it, I think there's no doubt about it. Buyers are the losers on this. And I don't care how you look at it. Every way I've looked at this, I mean, if you're buying with what we're going to be talking about after this with down payment assistance, or maybe an FHA loan at 3.5% down, I mean, you're not going to have any money to put towards, a good quality buyer's agent. And that's something that I really think is going to be, the big loser on it is really going to be the buyers, and especially the lower income, that type of the buyer is going to be the hardest hit on these things, in my opinion. I think part-time real estate agents, I think those are going to be hard. Again, a listing agent isn't just going after friends and family. And there's a reason for it. And so I think that is going to be a change. I think MLSs and associations, I think that they may be a loser in this thing too. Obviously, paying out NAR and all that kind of stuff. They're paying out the 418 million. But one of the things that is in this agreement is it's MLS and associations who can't put the commission amount in there. So do I think there's a third party that comes up with that's not an MLS? It's just publicly, where you can list commission amounts, maybe. Now, what I've heard is that the MLS or that the feeds that they get of the listings will not be able to go to those type of sites if they are known that they are, putting out there what the commission amounts can be for a buyer's agent. So who knows on that? So other notes that I put in here, like I said, what do listing agents do? And we have quite a few of them on this call, but what do they do on a presentation? Well, for one, they have a presentation, and that is going to be a must. I mean, you're going to have to, as a buyer's agent, do a listing presentation as a buyer's agent. So a consultation with the buyer and what you offer. So as a listing agent, what do? Well, you have a good presentation, usually, hopefully it's online now. We use Canva here. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. But you should have some type of presentation that you're doing on, your iPad or whatever it is you're doing when you're at that listing presentation with the person. But it's really, what is it that you offer that's better than other people? Why would someone choose you to list their home over others? So what do you have? Proof of production. Well, that's what most listing agents do. I've sold 28 homes in this area in the last 12 months or whatever it is, or your lifetime. I don't know. You could use whatever works best for you, right? And then it's going to be things like reviews. Hey, all these people say I'm great. Here's why, and then it's going to, on the listing side, it's definitely going to be, hey, here's my average, my median, whatever works best for you in your situation, sales price or asking price to sales price. So I get on average 102 of the list price when we close. So, my negotiation skills are better is what that's saying. Let me just mute someone. Hang on. It's one of those things that I think that coming up with that as an agent for the buying side is going to be important. What services do you offer? What is it that you're doing for that? It needs to be clear. And that's going to be part of the buyer broker agreement that you're going to need to have signed anyways. I would be putting in there on the presentation, if you're a full-time agent, I sure as heck would be saying, I'm a full-time agent. I'm not just doing this for the heck of it, right? I'm not doing it because, I'm bored on the weekends or something like that. I would be obviously touting that part of it. Do you have any increased licensing? Hey, I'm a buyer agent certification or whatever it is that makes you better, right? I specialize in these specific areas. I'm not going from Fresno to Sacramento and trying to sell homes. I'm hyper focused on these areas, and I know more about them than other people do. One thing that, again, we're going to be talking about in a minute, great connections with all kinds of things, but including, and probably one of the most important things, is lending. If you, as a buyer's agent, aren't able to say, you just say, hey, just use whoever you want. I mean, really, are you really helping that buyer? There are so many differences in lenders out there. It's incredible. And we don't all have the same products. That is for sure. And working with somebody that is professional, that, knows lending in and out, that has access to a ton of different programs, That is huge. And make sure that, that, hey, you're, presenting that to the buyers of, hey, I'm going to connect you with somebody that is great, proof of production. Hey, I work with buyers on a regular basis. This is how many deals a year I do, that kind of stuff. Reviews again. You should definitely be looking at, what does a buyer want to see? Well, they want to see other buyers that have been, had service from you, and they really think highly of you, right? And then negotiation skills. Believe me, I see this all the time. I see it. Luis is on the call. I see it with her all the time. When she's negotiating a deal before it ever gets to the seller, or if she's on the listing end of it, negotiating before they even send in that offer. And the skills that person has, there is huge differences between people. If you're a listing agent, you're just like, someone wants to do it for 1%, you're like, okay, I'll just do it. Well, if I was the seller on it, I'd be like, okay, that's exactly what you're going to do when you're negotiating my deal here and getting me more money. I mean, that skill is a big part of doing our business. And so I would say, hey, showing why you're better at negotiations than others, that's probably going to be a big deal. So I'm going to get to this. So basically what we're going to end up doing, Luis is going to at least create a generic buyer's agent presentation via Canva. If you are not using Canva, get on it now. Again, professionalism is going to be the new thing that if you're not at that level, get to that level, or you're probably not going to be in this business, and so Canva is free. I mean, we have access to where we can send templates to everybody. And if you haven't, you go to our website under the agent portal, you log in, obviously use the password to get in there. And we have all kinds of templates in there, and we're creating them all the time. And Luis is the driving force of that. So let's get to some of the questions. I see there's 75 people on here now. So Luisa, do you want to unmute and kind of give me any of the questions that are out there?
Okay, first question. What do you think being a double agent is going to look like?
Okay, the dual agency, yeah. So that is going to be interesting, and a lot of people have speculated in the very beginning on this. Are the buyer's agents going to go away, and you're just going to go to the listing agent, and now you're going to use that listing agent to be, who knows, really, is what it comes down to. But do I think that there may be more of a focus on that? Probably. I think that probably, people are going to go through one person more often than they did before. Next question.
I think we were planning to bring this up also, but Shivani did the ABR certification.
Yep. So that I did see that. I'm sure everybody that as part of the association probably got the same email I got, but we'll just resend it out. That it was a fee to get this certification and all that kind of stuff. Now they're waiving that fee for a period of time and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, like I said, that buyer broker agreement is going to change dramatically. I'm sure it's going to be night and day difference than what it is right now. It's still a good idea because realistically, even before this, I mean, everybody's different, but for me, I'm not going and showing a home without, hey, are you committed to me? Is this something that you're committed to me as much as I'm committed to you? And that's the way you should be looking at it, is like, I'm not just doing this for fun. If you had a plumber come to your house and you just say, hey, maybe at the end I'm going to pay you, maybe I'm not. I mean, is that going to go over well? No. So, I mean, come on. Like, we should be looking at this as, you should have already had a buyer broker agreement with everybody that you're working with and just said, hey, I want to make sure that you're committed to me. I'm going to be fully committed to you, that kind of thing. Go on, next question.
If most clients use Zillow or Redfin to find a property, then contact the buyer's agent for a showing rather than pay the buyer's agent. Won't the buyer just ask the listing agent to represent them at no additional cost?
Again, once if you're getting leads from Zillow or something like that, which I actually have on my losers Zillow, by the way, because their stock price was beat up pretty bad. But I think that they'll pivot just like all big companies do. I mean, they're huge, huge companies. So they will very likely pivot to where they're doing just fine. So I'm not worried about Zillow. But to get those leads, like let's say, I think the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to have a buyer consultation with them. Maybe it's over Zoom. The meeting that we're doing right after this is the down payment assistance part of it. I'm going to be doing it on Canva, exactly the way you probably should be doing it for your buyer's presentation, right? So you're going to have them sign. And if you don't have DocuSign or something like that, you should have your own DocuSign account. Or, I mean, you can go through SkySlope as well if you have a login there and all that. You can also do it obviously through the associations or through zip forms and all that. But basically to be able to say, hey, are you ready to move forward? I'm ready to move forward. Cool. Okay, I'm going to send you the DocuSign agreement. They're going to sign that, and now they're going to be with you as the agent, right? Until they fire you or something like that. If that, hopefully that wouldn't be the case. But if that was, then there's going to be some ways out of it, I'm sure. But go on, next question.
This is John Chess. What is the response we give our sellers on their responsibility to pay the buyer's agent?
I would say
So
just like it was before. I mean, there is no difference there. I mean, the seller didn't have to buy, didn't have to pay anybody if they didn't want to. Yes, there's a field there. You could put 0 in there as a on the MLS. Before you were required to put something in there, but you could put 0 if you wanted to. Put $1 if you wanted to. I don't know. But realistically, that should be the conversation that you're having with that on the listing end. Hey, I'm going to be charging you 3%, 2.5%, whatever it is that you're charging. In addition, in order to get the highest offers for your property, it is going to be important to basically make sure that we have compensation to have the masses come in, the majority of buyers agents come in. And again, if they're working with people that don't have a ton down, well, they're probably not going to have money to pay somebody for this as well. So, very likely the seller will very likely still be paying for the vast majority of all buyers' commission. But go on, next question. I got a call from an agent the other day. Hey, that person's not a part of the MLS, so do I have to pay them and all this kind of stuff? I mean, even before this, you should do a cooperating broker commission agreement to begin with on regular deals. I mean, like, why wouldn't you? Send it along with the offer and say, hey, this is what the deal is. Hey, it's 2.5% that it shows on the MLS. It's 2.5% that I want, kind of thing. So, but go on, next question.
From Megan, do you think lending program guidelines will be changing with this change?
Yeah, I think that there's going to be some serious changes with Fannie and I mean, there has to be because of concessions. That it's, is the seller giving that as a buyer credit, and is that allowed on that loan program? So there's going to be some changes there for sure. But obviously, they're going to work those things out pretty quickly because, I mean, fortunately and unfortunately, I mean, it's a matter of I mean, the judge may not even agree with this by July to begin with. Who knows? But they could agree to it tomorrow. I have no idea. And if they do, then things are going to take place very quickly. So yes, I do think lending programs will change for that, concession part of things and stuff. Go on, next one.
How long do we have to do deals at the status quo before the new change is implemented?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously this is in the news everywhere and all that kind of stuff. So, on the listing end, I would be talking to people about it now for sure. I'd be starting to get things going. But the reality of it is there's still, MLS, there's no changes whatsoever currently that are official, right? So everything is the same as it was before until, otherwise. Now, would I start doing things? Heck yeah, I would be becoming all the things that I need to very likely become in the near future.
Shivani says, I feel that the flat fee model will become more prevalent and buyers will go to whoever asks for the lowest fee. Discount brokers may become prominent though, right? What do you think?
You know, I don't really think that, to be honest. I think that it's just like help you sell and list for less and all these places and these companies that, well, they're going to take over our industry. Well, I've never even heard of any of these companies anymore. right? I do think though, during times like if it's a seller's market and it's just like, is the seller going to pay more during that time? No, they're going to pay less because they don't need you as much, you know? They're going to be like, just like a new home builder, right? When the market is just crazy as far as, you know, hey, they can put a house on the market, put the sign in there. They don't even need to put the sign in there. It's going to sell right away. Well, they don't need as many buyer's agents. So they don't offer as much in commission. So I think it'll be similar to that as well. Next question.
If seller is willing to pay a buyer's agent, is there a box on the MLS input?
What, say it one more time. Sorry.
If the seller is willing to pay the buyer's agent, is there a box on the MLS input?
Well, there is currently, but there's not going to be after this is through.
Yeah.
That is the main crux of the whole thing. That will be removed. No doubt about it.
That's it for questions. I mean, can I just say what I feel is the net?
Go for it quickly though, because I want to get to the next thing. So do it. Let's go.
I mean, so the bottom line is going forward as of July 2024, buyer broker compensation can't be listed on MLS, right? Sellers and their agents could still make offers of buyers broker compensation via off MLS and consults, meaning like off the table, like not through. Okay, and then NAR also agreed to a new rule that we're going to be required to use the buyer broker agreement.
Correct.
Okay, and then what this means for buyers would benefit from the buyer broker agreement, increased clarity regarding our services, and their agent, and then more variable commission structures is what might be the advantage to the buyer. But then what it means for the sellers is sellers may enjoy more control over the commission negotiations, potentially leading to a cost savings and more personalized service agreements. But then how this will affect us as real estate agents. Agents have an opportunity to showcase their value more transparently, potentially leading to a stronger client relationship and a more tailored service approach. So regarding Canva, I'm going to have I'm going to just put it out. And even if I still have it already in the portal, I'm going to enhance them like he said, and specifically send them out on the Google group so everybody has it. And also like, I don't know if people intend to address this like with their clients without it being mentioned. Like, is that something people are going to be doing, like posting it or social, or
I think it's probably a must, but
so because I also have some stuff to post if you would like to just kind of, if any of you guys want to just put it out there because the conversations have come up before, or because it's in the news, and so I do have what I just said like in a post.
Realistically, on the listing side of things, you should of course be addressing all of this. It shouldn't be, hey, I charge 6%. It's, well, where is that 6% going? Is it going to, obviously in the listing agreement, you're putting what you're giving to the buyer's agent and all that currently. So if you're not having those discussions, that's kind of weird. And I think you should, of exactly who's getting what on this and why they're doing that and why it's beneficial to a seller to do that. And I don't think that part is going to change as far as that conversation goes. So cool. All right. So we'll be sending out some stuff. Okay. I'm going to get into a down payment assistance. I'm going to go very quickly because I know that, we don't want to stay on here all day. And this is part of what's important with you as an agent and making sure that you understand what is out there. So when a buyer comes to you and says, hey, I make 150,000 a year, but I don't got anything in the bank, well, some people might just say, well, I mean, you can't buy a house. Well, that's not true at all, right? And so one of the things there's loan officers on there, there's realtors on here, and it's a matter of you should know at least what's out there. And it's not to know the nuts and bolts of all the programs or anything like that, because things change all the time. So I'm going to share my screen right here.